Hi everyone, welcome to part 5 of my Lord of the Rings toy box level Helm's Deep. Now we are hopefully moving on from the siege towers, so what we'll concentrate on now is the bombardment of the castle. So this is where that while the siege towers advance on the castle, they are going to chuck up massive bombs to us. And as you'll see here, flying through the air, we have a bomb coming across here now. It's quite a distance it has to travel, so it looks like it's quite slow, but it's moving reasonably fast. And as they come in, you'll see two now in the air, and as they hit the castle, explosions will hit. Okay, now Helm's Deep is a strong castle, so we expect this, and we suspect that the castle should stand. But you'll see as they hit the castle, different bombs will have different effects. So some will set fire off, some will damage the castle, and you'll see the bomb hit the ground. And you'll see we have some now damage occurring. Now, I did this in one of my levels regarding ships, how to bombard a ship. Now there is a slight difference with this technique. We only use 3 bombs. Okay, so through this whole logic, we only have 3 bombs going through the sky, and each bomb has an option of 3 routes to choose. So there will be different sections, different places. You'll see this time it hit the side of the wall. So what I'm doing is I'm combining my Indiana Jones level that I showed all at the beginning of this year and my shipment level. So I'm going to combine the two together to show you how we have these explosions going across. Because remember, not only do we have the siege towers come in, we have the bombardment going across, we will then have troops advancing through, and we need to hold them off as long as we can. So this is what we're showing here, is how these bombs are triggered, and we're going to show how we get the arc to fire through and hit our castle. That is really the objective of today's level. So you'll see here I'm trying to slow down these bombardments, and just shows a different clip as they hit my castle here. And my castle now is on smokes on fire. And again, depending on how you play this level, those bombardments will get triggered different places. Now, if we stop these towers here, those bombardments don't. You'll see here those bombardments are carrying on coming across. Yeah, my castle's more and more damaged on fire. You'll see that I've got bombardment coming through the front. But those towers won't stop bombarding. But on the other side, when that tower reaches the wall, it obviously doesn't want my people to get injured. So as soon as the tower reaches the wall, the bombardment on that side will stop. Okay, because we've stopped those two. So you'll see here is as we now get to this side of here through the damaged fire, my castle's all looking on flames. Yeah, you'll now notice this will arrive here now. We have one more bomb coming through, but nothing now on this side. And now we've got the endless enemies attacking us. So that's what we're showing this time. Is we're going to show you how the bombard have this effect, bombard the castle while our battle goes across, and show you different techniques that you may have used before, or just how we just tied them up slightly. Some things that helps you plot the path of these bombs.
I meant no disrespect.
There we go. Cool. So let's go back to the design level. So you'll see here we've got all the logic set up now with our tool. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create these arcs. And the issue I have with the path tool is trying to keep the arc perfectly straight. Just couldn't do it. I tried about 4 or 5 times. It's driving me insane. And I had this problem with the ship one. Trying to line up, have I got the arc ready? And I found this tip to work quite well. And it's a bit weird. We're going to use blocks to help plot the path of the cannon. Okay, and the reason for that is it allows us to guide these items across. So what we'll do is just going to get one across here. I'm just going to set this side here, lining it up with the castle. So this is where the bombs will start. So I'm going to make them about a gap of 5. So like, you'll know 1, 2. So if I count here, so like so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So if I keep the 5, I can keep them roughly the same space. You can see I have trouble counting to 5 here, but there you go. Right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to lift this up and I'm going to try and get an arc of bricks. I'm coming up and I want to move it across, going up at an angle, but I want to make sure I have them lined up. So I'm making sure that these items, and it's easier to do a single block than to do the path, because the path I seem to get out, just every time I do it, it seems to wander, and the last thing you want to do is your bombs to wave left and right or just look pants. So I'm just setting these all up. So you'll see here that these are coming up from the castle, yeah, and they need to come out at a slight angle till they reach about halfway point on our route. So I'm using these bricks to plot me the route, and the reason why I use the bricks is that I could go back and readjust them before I put the path tool in. Now, I thought this was weird to use it, but it really speeded this whole process up. I think when the first time I did this, it took me about 10 minutes just to get the path, just one path to work. by doing this, I can flew through the whole lot. All 9 paths were done within 10 minutes. So instead of 1, it was a lot quicker. And also it gets us if we need to move them about, space them around slightly. Because obviously they've got to come landing down onto the wall. Now you could add the effect that when they reach the wall, that if you're in that area, everything else gets killed. You could do that. I just did it for the effect. I didn't want you to get killed because you can have enough trouble with all the enemies attacking you. So I just wanted the explosions to go off and to make you not able to see what's going through. So there's going to be many things trying to kill you anyway, and I just didn't think that was needed. But again, all these are separate, isolated little mechanics. We've done the mechanic for the explosion wall. We've done the mechanics for the moving siege towers. This is the mechanics for the bombardments. And you'll see it when you look back at it. It's amazing how many things you've done, and it looks really complicated. But we're only dealing with them just in small little sections. Okay, so we now come back to view it. Look, that now, it's not a bad little arc. That looks like it'll hit it. Nice curved mark. So the easy bit now is just to put the path tool on, right? And it's going to be straight. So look, it's all nicely leveled up. So we go to our creativity toys and choose our path tool. And now we're going to link an orb to these particular paths, which is going to look like a bomb. Now, one other thing I did with the ship tool is that when I had multiple moving orbs, it gobbled up the memory. You'll see here, I'm still only halfway on my memory guide. If you look at that scale on the side, I'm only halfway on memory. Now, some people have asked me, will this work on different consoles and the graphics? The graphics should be the same on any console, whether it's a PlayStation 3, whether it's a Wii or an Xbox. Okay, I don't know the tablet versions work at all anymore, but that was pretty much the same quality graphics as well. Now, the only difference between consoles is memory. Now, the difference between a PS4 Pro and a PS4, I have noticed no difference in what you can do in the toy box, but the PS4 does one particular level, and people have commented that some different memory allows you to do more things in one toy box than you can do in another. So I think sometimes you might not be able to get all 9 bombardment things occurring across on different consoles, but it should be pretty much the same. They try to keep the whole thing uniform whichever console you used. So if you've got a Wii, this should still work and do exactly the same thing. The only downside is there's only going to be a limited time while those playsets are still available until they're gone for good. Which is really weird. I think they're bargain at the moment, but I guarantee you in about a couple of years' time they are going to be worth something. Right, so here you go. That's my first path. And as you see the arc, I've just clicked on all the path going across. It gives you that nice curve straight onto the castle. So not too bad, does it? So going to do exactly the same again on the next one. Now obviously we're doing it in stages, so we're doing 3 parts, one for this stage and in the middle, and one's against the castle side. So again, link it to the castle, put them on the top of each point. Now the clever bit with this particular section that I'm showing you for is, and I've mentioned this already, we're having one bomb, and it's going to choose which of the 3 paths to go. So one time it go down one path, one time the next, and it's just going to be random each time. So it could always go down the same path we want to, but I want it to be not guaranteed, because when they throw a catapult, sometimes it's not always, they adjust it slightly. So it's going to randomly choose one of those 3 paths. That keeps the memory down neat and allows us to have the explosion. Now here, what I was doing, I was going to have the bomb go into the castle and through the wall. So I was plotting it in to make it straight, and then I was pulling it down. And then I realised I should have just stopped there. I didn't need to go inside the castle wall. I should have just stopped and circled out. So I was trying to hide it through. I'm thinking, what am I doing? So that bit I wouldn't have done again. I'd have just stopped at the first point. Wasn't needed. It could just stop at that first section. And all my logic is linked to the wall bit anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Right. Now obviously when we finish, those bricks are going to be deleted. We're not going to keep those bricks there. They're there purely to help us build the path. Yeah? So don't think, well, why are you putting stupid bricks in the air? They are to be deleted and removed off. Okay. And like I've said in the other clips, I'm trying to make sure I can show you different ways of using the mechanics. And some of you may have already done something like this, but now I'm going to show you how to, like say, get the orb to choose one of these 3 routes. And if you look at, say, and just as you saw us spin back around there, when you put the path in, it looks absolutely pants until you do all the other points. You'll see I'm slightly off here. And when you do the other points, that's then you realise it then gets bent into a curve. I kept on going back, so the bricks were guaranteed that I was going to get that curve coming through. Okay, and I put that into the castle. That's on the screen, that's lined up. So that one brick I couldn't count 5 spaces. It bended it round, it should have just stopped there, but oh well. So that there is our first set of bricks. That's our first archway we're going to do, which is not too bad. Yep. Right, so now we're going to set up the path where our cannonball basically starts from, and that's going to be right back here behind the woods where the user won't see. So I'm just going to jump through to that section. A little bit of editing goes on here. Hold on for a second. So in front of these 3 routes, we are going to choose a single path where our cannonball starts. Okay, and again, we're hiding the fact that the user can't see this. So there are a number of points, and these points are extremely important. So remember to count these options here. So we're going to have one point here where the cannon starts on our path. Okay, we're going to have a loop here. We need that first one which repeats it back. So that's 2. Okay, we need another option here as we go across. 3. Okay, that's like a little reset option. Okay, and then we need after that 3 more points for the 3 paths. Okay, so I need 3 more points for each path on there. So 1, 2, 3, and depending on our triggers, it will depend on which of the 3 routes it's going to take. Okay, so that's why I needed 3 little routes there on the screen, which comes straight forward. So what we'll do now is we now need a I think we need a logic gate next. Is that my next option? I think it is. My famous logic gates. I love these things, and I mention it every time, but every time I play this game, okay, and I love the toy box, but you've got to give it to the developers. How they've designed it, you can program like this. It's just brilliant. And honestly, they to come up with this option, these little gates, I think are absolutely outstanding. Those guys won an award. It's brilliant. Right, so what we'll do on the first point here, when we reach that point there, we're going to do a reset option. So we'll do a new logic connection to that logic gate. Can we input a signal? So when we get to the first point on the path, can we input a signal into that gate? What we do is on output, we're going to go back and reset and play. So this controls the cannon, which means the cannonball won't fire straight away. So what it is, we do a reset and play. So when we add the cannonball, it's in a constant loop. It just keeps going through that loop as we go through. Now I changed the properties of this to 200 for the speed of the cannonball, and that was way too slow. So when you do this, do not set it to 200. Can you set it to 300? Right, must be 300 at least. You may want to go to, because I thought it might be a little bit too slow. You might have thought it was a bit too slow flying through the air, so I may adjust that to even 600, doing it on the path tool. Now what we'll do here is we'll connect this object to the actual path. So we'll log on to the path, and as you'll see here now, that just now is in a loop going through the screen. So it's fixed there. And when we want to fire the cannon through, all we've got to do is close that gate. Okay, so the next thing we need is this randomized tool. Now I thought I only needed this, but you can't direct the path tool. So the randomizer tool is used to open and close one of these 3 gates. Okay, and each one of those gates represents one of those paths. Okay, so we're going to get to choose this route. So I'm going to use something like this in a car chase. Someone wants me to do a car chase. I'm going to do a car chase scene on here at the moment. So what we're saying is when we get to the next gate, so once we trigger it off, when we get to that gate, go new logic connection, when point reached on path, can we go to our randomizer option? Okay, and we're going to say action. And now we're going to say I would like you to basically pick one of those 3 gates. Yep. Oops, if I can pick it. You see I'm having a bit mad with this. Right, so on this, so when we get the randomizer, go and generate an action. Cool, so it'll now generate a number. Okay, so in this case we're going to say, right, what I want to do is, what happens if you are number 1? So on this case, if you're number 1, we're going to go new logic connection. When you generate number 1, can we close that gate? Okay, only one of these gates will be closed at one time. Yeah, so on this one, new logic connection. When number 2 is triggered, can we close number 2 gate? Okay. and the same version of number 3. So this is one object that can now take 3 different routes, and it will be different each time. So when I do my car chase scene towards Christmas time, I don't think that's when that clip will come out. You'll see how this will work. But what you'll see here now is that we'll know is that we close that gate there. That will then make the orb travel across. It will then trigger the generator, which will then tell it to generate me a number, which will close one of those 3 gates. Only one. Sorry about the spell. Sorry. Now, when it does close that gate, we can say here that this one is for gate 1, right? And we says, right, if new logic connection, when point reached on path, can we input a signal into that gate? Okay. Now, what we then do is, what if that gate is closed? If it is closed, so new logic connection, if input blocked, can we connect the triggering actor? So we go to here, can we then connect? If you go a little bit further, you'll say connect triggering actor to path. That bomb will now move and connect to that particular object. Okay. Now, what if it's 2? So what we can do here is a new logic connection. So from here, so I'm jumping the gun here. When we get to this point, yeah, when point reached on path. Now we'll only get to that point because the other one, nothing happened. Yeah, because the other one's still open. So if this one is closed, so new logic connection, input signal. Yeah. And if that is, then we can then say, right, can we then close that gate's closed? So new logic connection, if that gate is closed, input that particular item. Now remember, it only gets triggered or moves across the connecting trigger if the gate is closed. And the gate is only closed because before those 3 dots, the randomizer will close one of those 3 gates. But obviously one thing we need to do is that once we've connected to the path, we then must reset those gates. Okay? So new logic connection on input, so input into there, and we can then say new logic connection, if that input is blocked, yeah, can we connect it to this path? So it'll choose one of 3 routes, which is quite handy. Okay, now the one thing we need to do then is, so we've got them connected to there, which is great, and I need to make sure I change the properties of that. So again, I set this to 200, definitely set it to 300, not the 200 setting I've just done there. I need to do that for all 3 of those, because although the first path is set to 300, when it moves across, it will then drop down in speed. It doesn't bring the speed across, so you still have to adjust the speed for every single path tool, but not 200. Stressing that now. Make sure it's 300, otherwise you're going to have to change it, because it was way too slow when I finally did the version. Right, so I set that up. Okay, now this is the clever bit. As we travel along this path, we know that we obviously had gate number 1 closed, yeah, because you wouldn't be on this path. So what we can do now is, when we get to the first point on here, so new logic connection, on that first point, can we reopen gate 1? Okay, can we which means all 3 of those are still open, yeah. So what we can do is, can you set that, and can we connect to there, and can we open that as gate 1? So it does then do open. Okay, we don't have to reset the other 2 because the other 2 will already be open already. If the object is on this path, then we've closed gate 2. So in that case, then we do the same thing again. When we reach this point, can we just make sure for the next time when the cannon returns, we can pick the item again? So go again. Can we then go and I say close, we want to reopen the gates. Yeah, it's only when it's closed will it bounce on that route. So we'll set that as open, and we do that with the final one, which is cool. And we'll set that up on this path here. So new logic connection, when point reached on path. And like I mentioned, just to give you a little heads up, when I do a car chase scene, I'm going to have a car moving different objects at different positions, and therefore it can take different routes. And this is the type of way of triggering an item to choose 1 or 3 paths. And I don't know, every time I play it will get a different route. Now, when the orb travels all the way down to the end, yeah, and it gets down to here and it hits the wall and blows up, yeah, what we're going to do is when we reach this point here on the path, so inside I'm going inside the object. Now I could have just gone to that point there, so I can say, right, when point reaches on path here, we know we've got the effect and it's hit the center. So what we can do here is we go onto our little tools, we do new path connection. When point reached on path, can we then send the object all the way back to this path here? It goes back to the original starting point. Yeah. Am I going? You see, I'm way off there. but when you point back onto there, it will then start back its journey again, and we can say, right, can we then go back to connect trigger and actor to path? So it will then return back and then travel along that route and then choose its 3 routes that it's going to go to. And I need to do that now for each one, depending which one it's going to. So grab that point. So new logic connection, when point reached on path, can we send it back to the starting point, which it will go through. So when the tower reaches the wall, all we have to do is reclose the first gate to stop it and to keep the bomb back in the loop, so we can switch it off, which is quite handy. Yeah, and that controls that item. So although not much happens in this particular clip, it's showing you the mechanics of how to reuse and try and be clever with your tool, and just to give you the different type of ways of controlling with very little gates being used. And again, these are all isolated to one little things, and it's all controlled by that one gate. Yeah, that one logic gate, by opening and closing, will set this whole effect off. Without that one gate being switched on, none of this will happen anyway. Right, what you've seen there, slight error. When I try to connect that last object, so I've gone all the way across over here, I'm going to have to do this again. When I've gone to the orb and it reaches this point, what I did is I actually by accident connected it to the orb when I needed to reconnect it to the path. So while I was trying to show you the orb moving, I wouldn't actually connect the orb until the very last thing. So in this particular case, if the orb's not connected, it won't be moving. So I would then make sure I'm not on the orb, press the option, and now I can do the actual restart here, connected trigger. But I would then connect the orb last and add that to the path at the very end. Okay, so this one, when it gets past this gate, we'll pass it through, so that will then create the object. Now, just in case the object does allow you to shoot it, because you shouldn't be able to when it's a path, but occasionally it can let you. What I'm going to do here is, just in case the bomb did get shot down, we're going to do it that when you connect back to the orb on the second point, we're going to reset it so you can view it. So all that says, just reset the view, just in case we shot it off, it wouldn't be just a blank thing going through the sky. So that's just in case we've done the shot. So that's the other connection. So that there is the logic needed for our bombardment, and it's all triggered by that one gate. That one gate does the whole thing. Yeah, everything's finished, and that fires that all off in between those 3 items. Okay. Now what we're going to do here is, when the bombs hit the ground, we need the effect for the explosion. I need a mass explosion to now occur. So up here at the side here, I'm just going to create some effects generators. And obviously I need 3 effects generators for each of the 3 paths. Okay, so I'm just going to put 3 down on this side. So for the total paths we're going to have is 9. I'm going to need 9 effects generators at the moment. And I just need locators. And I connect these up here. Okay. And each of these effects generators will be located to that locator. So there you go. So we'll do locator connect to each one. So this is straightforward. New locator connection. So all those are connected up. Right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move these down to the area we want them to appear at. So in this case, I want the orb somewhere close by. So that's where I want the first one to appear, yeah? The first explosion. So what we do is we click to the point. When point reached on path, so new logic connection. When point reached on path, can we go up and can we trigger that explosion? So go to the first gate, and can we then play once? So play once. And if you do the play once, that's where you get the big explosion. It only is available in the play once section. It's not under the play loop. So that'll do the big explosion there. So same now I need for the other points. So I need those to appear on the screen, so I can move that to the second tab. Now at the end of this clip, I forgot to show you how to get the building on fire. So it's a very similar option with the effects with having the castle on fire, but the only difference is we want them on a played loop. I will show you that in a brief summary, but that's basically all we need for that setting. So again, going back onto here, go to the second gate, we can say, right, can we play once, explosion huge, Huge explosion goes in, and then what we can do is I'm just going to move that locator back over the point because it's in the way. So that's where that explosion appear. And on this one, when point reached on path, can we play the explosion on that one? So insert that into the third one. So that's as easy then. So there'll be in total 9 effects generators hidden up at the top. Then again, when I finish the level off, I'm going to hide these all out of the way. And I can just now move that locator back. And we now have our logic done, and that's all triggered by just closing that one gate. Will set this whole set of chain of events occurring in an endless loop until we reopen the gate back up. Okay, so by closing the gate triggers it off, by opening it we'll set it across. But that is our logic done for one of our cannons. We now need to repeat that for the other 2 cannons, so we're going to have 9 in total. So we'll just speed that process up for you. So you'll see here now, as I've got all the bricks, I've got 3 sets and different arcs coming across, hitting the castle. On one side I want to hit the castle walls because I wanted them to get the actual building on fire, but we have now our 9 arcs, and I've used those dots again to build those similar settings. Yeah, and again I'll do the moving objects on those, but that will just show you how I've set the arcs up. And again, those bricks will be deleted off, but it'll just help me to line it all up. And we repeat the exact same process again by having paths connected to those. And you see, because I got the siege towers in the way, I had to put the bricks there. But it's all triggered all by that one gate for that tool. So that's the important gate that triggers it all off. So let's speed up time again and show you to the other towers complete. So now you'll see at the bottom left hand corner I've got 2 paths additionally added that have moving orbs. Then they're different lengths, by the way, so they're not all guaranteed to come at the same time. So different lengths, and again all linked to the logic gates down there at the bottom. So you'll see them there, set different lengths, all still the same connections, and you'll see my 2 path options now underneath those sets of the trees, which are all connected to that path, which will now fire those off. So the big question is, how do we start launching them? When do we do it? Well, as our siege towers move along this main path, when we're in the woods we can start firing the bombardment straight away. So I'm just going to pick one of these points. Yeah. So as the siege tower moves along, when our point reaches along this particular path, yeah, we know that started the object. So if that's the case, if that's our first path, can we close the first gate? By closing the first gate, that will trigger the item going across on the screen. Same with the second one. So on the second path, where do I want the second bombardment to occur? So I'm waiting for the siege towers. Well, just before the siege towers come through, so we'll just do it just before the tower comes in. We'll have them firing away. So new logic connection when point reached on path. And by having all those points in the path earlier, it allows us to look at different points of when we use it. So in this case, when point reaches the path, can we close that gate? Close that gate, the cannon will start firing across, and we'll do the third one. And can we close that gate? So in fact I put that on the same tower actually, but again it triggers it across, doesn't matter. Once they got moving they'll all start triggering it across. And that now closes the gates. We have our bombardment going across. Now when we reset our level, so new logic connection, when output, can we reopen all those gates again? So we want to stop it just in case we're now in our mode. So can we reopen them? So I need to change that. So on this section here, when we reopen the level, can we stop the bombardment and can we open the gates? Now at any stage if I want to stop the bombardment occurring, all I've got to do is close the particular level on those gates. So I think I've got it on the path when it reaches the wall to also close the gate as well. You can do that. But again, wrong one, not that one, that's it. Just open them up again, and then when the cannon, when it finishes its path and comes back, it will stay in its loop. So this is the bit here, when we get all the way to this side over here, when we know we've got to the wall, we know the tower is about to hit it. We don't want to blow up our own men, well, the enemy doesn't want to blow its own men. So at this point here, we say, right, when we get to this point on the path, new logic connection, when point reached on path, can we open the gate which will stop the bombardment, because we now know our men are in the castle. Yeah, and all we have to do there is just reopen that gate again as well. And it will then open that up, and I have to do that same for the other ones. So these are the different trigger points. So on the second path again, if the tower makes it, if the tower never gets that far, by the way, if we stop the tower before it gets there, that bombardment will carry on going. It says, well, the tower didn't work, just keep hitting that wall. So that's going to constantly keep going. Okay, so open that one up. I'll do the final one. Point reached on path. So all that now switches the logic on. And again, I haven't moved my things out of the way until they're finished, so we can pinpoint those items. Cool. So there's our towers all working nicely. Yeah. Now these buttons here, these are what we're going to trigger our gates. Now I'm going to move these now. Instead of me coming back, I'm actually going to put these back into our middle castle, which starts our whole event off. So when I test it now, I can be based here in our story. So I'm just going to bring these across back into our main castle part so I can reset it from here, because I've theoretically got the bombardment occurring, I've got the siege towers going across. Now everything's going to be based inside the castle. Now we're going to have the troops in our next clip that's to come, the big army bit. Okay. So bring the last one down, and also keep it in the right order as well. Left is to reset, right is my start. Okay. So one thing we need to do is we need to get rid of those blocks. We've got everything set up now. We've got the bombardment. Those bricks can now go. Now this is where you have to be careful not to delete the pointers. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go up onto the bricks. Just use my spark mode just to make sure we're just low enough so we can't select the point. So we don't want to select the point. And we're just going to delete those out. Last thing you want to do is delete the point, because it will change your line join, so be careful on that one. But we're going to delete all these bricks out. So remember, if you do make a mistake, if you're happy with a certain part, save it and then do the next part, and you're happy with that, keep saving it. So we'll just speed that up. So now the bricks have all gone, the curves are all in place. Yeah, our logic is all set up on the screen. That now is going to look a lot much more tidier option. Now the one thing we're going to do is, as you'll see, it all loads up. All these points are in the map straight away. So as soon as the level loads up, what we might as well use our level starter, because that there resets everything. That controls all the gates. So we go to our creativity toys and get our I think it's called the actual control is called level starters. Let's just go and find it on here. Where's the level starter? Let's go across. Right, there you go, level starter. So we'll put that here, and we can say, right, when the level starts, if we input into that logic gate there, so your logic connection, uncatalyze on there, can we input a signal there? So as soon as we load up now, everything gets reset, all the things get disappeared off the screen, so it looks like an open map. Yeah, that's our trigger point. And when we do it linked to a challenge marker as well, it will do exactly the same thing, but that clears and wipes off all the actual items. So I know every time I say and reload it, it's going to be back to the normal setting, which is exactly what I want. Okay, so we are now, I think we're almost ready to go. Let's just save that. What we can do is, what was our next section? That's right, our next section is getting rid of these bits here that we did in our previous clip. These controls are in the way now. We're going to have a battlefield going across here. So what I'm going to do now is go to my terrain, and I'm just going to move these underneath the ground. So I'm just going to put a couple of layers here. Don't need to worry about formatting those. Just going to go straight down underneath and just create a space here. I'm just going to create the logic. And again, at some point we're going to move all these underneath here later on. Okay, but I'm just going to grab all those actual items off the top, take them off the battlefield. Never going to need to touch those again. They are purely the on-off for the previous level. So drag those down and we'll just tidy them up. Keep them all on the place, and again try and keep them in the same place where I created them, directly underneath it. The user never has to go underneath, so that's never going to be a problem there. And again, I'll just speed this process up, but again it's moving the objects out the way we're completed. You'll see I haven't tidied the other logic at the back there yet. I'll wait that till after the battle, because I'm still going to need that to reset the armies and stuff. But I'm making way now for the shoulder attack, which should be coming next. So I'll test that logic works. But the advancing armies is where we're going to do next on our next clip, which is basically the one you've all been waiting for anyway. But we had to get all this logic in place, and I'll just speed up time just to show you how I've moved all these items across. So I've gone through and moved all these items, just making sure just to click on once, move it and save. And like I say, make sure you save, because occasionally moving connections tend to break it. So you don't have to worry about where they are before, but you'll now notice that I've moved them all out, all on the 3 levels. They've all been moved nicely to one side, and that is our setup. Okay, so the platform is all clear, which is not too bad. Now, the one area I have forgot to tell you is how to get that castle to look damaged. And I've already done this, by the way, so I'm just going to go over the logic that I've used. You'll see here I have 3 logic gates. These 3 logic gates are connected to each one of the 3 bombardment paths that are going to come. So I'm going to repeat this for each line. Okay, and those logic gates here are triggered by these items here. So when the bomb hits this particular item, well, you'll notice there's a connection there back to that logic gate. Okay, and what that logic gate does is it inputs a signal into here, which will then fire it to the effects generator, and that will say, right, can you have smoky flames, please, like smoky flames. And I've got those all connected to these different locators now scattered around the entrance of the castle. Okay, now obviously I don't want to have to keep resetting those as we go through, so when we trigger off that effect, I actually want to go back to that gate and close that gate, so that gate is now closed. So just to recap, as the point hits that point, it's only then does this effect occurs. And this might never happen because, remember, the bombardment is random. But it will actually then close that gate, sets off the effects generator, flames appear, the effects generator then goes back to the gate and says, right, we've done the effect, now can we close the gate? So you just here, if I look at the logic here, you'll see here, they're all located on here, but if I go to that logic gate, it'll say there, right, you'll see on this one, let's have a look, it's all located, when it's triggered, can you close the gate? Okay, so that will close the gate, so that will stop trying to restart the loop again and again and again. And that's connected to path 1, and I'll do the same now for path 2. So path 2-1, same thing, it goes here on this path when it hits this option. And that all depends when the bombardment occurs, when it randomly picks it. If it randomly picks 3 every single time, then some of this fire won't appear. So you'll have, hopefully in your battle, different fire effects occur. Now the only difference with this one, I have 2 effects. One is for fire and one is for a smoke plume. So I've got smoke coming out. And you'll see that they're all linked to locators there on the screen. Just like we did the effect when we did the explosion. And this one again is linked to this bombardment. And I pick those through. Now you'll also notice I have the logic gate right at the very front. Now that logic gate is to do a reset option. Yeah. So as we open and close these gates, which cause the effect, so we look at the properties of this one. So that's not on the triggered. I don't want the triggered one, I want the other one. I always pick the wrong ones. Trigger one again, same one again, picked it again. Let's go down to further. So on output, what we're going to do is we're going to play looped. We're going to play the fire effect. So that's just showing you when we do the output of the signal what type of effect we're doing. It's smoky flames. Right, but all those are controlled by that first logic gate. You'll just see here, I'm just covering all those. And those logic gates, when we press those, we need to reopen all the gates again, and what we need to do is stop all the looping effects. So that one there, you'll see as they connect through, is linked to that gate, and that is linked to all the gates and to all the effects. So what we need to do is when I input a signal into there, I want to open those and I want to stop playing those effects. So I can make sure those effects all stopped, all linked to that gate. And that there is controlled from our reset tool. Yeah, so that will go into there and say, can you open all the gates and can you stop all the looping effects within that group? Yeah, and then all I need to do is make sure there's a connection from there going all the way back to our other tool. Now, sorry I haven't built this particularly up, because while I was reviewing back the video clip, I'd already built these. And I thought it didn't make sense, so instead of deleting them all, I just thought I'd just show the clip that I've done. And then what I did with all these, I then moved them back underneath the castle, and I stored them back here with the rest of the place where those items now appear underneath there. So I just dragged those all back underneath those and hid them out of the way. But I did one for one set, so I had 3 lots of these for each different castle. For each different bombardment, if that makes sense. Hopefully that's not too bad. I hope you forgive me for that little bit, but we've already done it several times within this clip already. So it's now to give it another test run again. Let's have a look. So we'll give it a test run, and we will now have the castles bombard, and we'll see them come through. So what we've got here is we've got the siege towers moving along the path. As soon as they get to a certain point on the path, they are going to close the gates. That will release the cannon, and that will fire the first cannon across. Here comes the first cannon as it comes flying through the sky. Now as the tower moves further along, it releases the next one, and the other one comes across, and they are now stuck in a loop. And we have the explosion blows up here, and now they come flying through. Now this is set at 300, and in my clip I did say 200, so make sure it's as fast as possible, because I think it probably wants to go a little bit faster. And here they come, and as that hits the wall, now we get the fiery effect as well, so we've got the fire on our castle. No! And now we have to go and do our job and slow these down. Right, so the next clip that I've got coming after this is regarding the troops attacking the castle. Yeah, so what we're going to look is we're going to have a look at a large army now approaching the walls. We've got something to do with the kamikaze warriors. Those kamikaze warriors, if they run and get to the wall, they're going to blow the hole in the castle. And then obviously we've got to defend it. So we've also got to show what the enemy is trying to destroy, and what we can control as what wins the game or loses the game. So we'll show you those to come. I hope you liked what we've done so far. Let's just shoot these towers. Another level comes in quite good. And the castle's still being bombarded now as they're coming through on the castle. That's not stopping, they're still coming in. And you'll see with the smoke now giving you the effect, it's meant to look like a big battle. So if all goes well, this should look like the daddy of battle zones. I'm just hoping that we don't overload the memory with the army. And we need a certain size army, so I'm going to go for about 20, I think. 20 soldiers at one time. And see how that looks. Hopefully we won't overload the memory, but we'll give it a go. Okay. Right, well I'll go and finish off that clip. You can in the meantime play through these, see what you think. Make sure to like them. And as I said earlier, the more likes we get, the more it keeps getting pointed out on YouTube, and people still know that Disney Infinity is going strong. Thanks for watching, thanks for all your support and kind words. Keep chucking the ideas in, by the way, it always helps. And I'll get back to you soon, guys. I'll just leave this last battle here at the end, and we'll catch you soon. See you later. Bye.
I meant no disrespect.